Hello everyone, I'm Mark Suxford and I want to welcome you all to my new podcast called People Behind Brands, brought to you by Making Websites Better. Throughout the series, I'll be opening up my little black book of contacts where I'll be joined by an inspirational guest from the world of business, getting to the bottom of what made them so successful. In each episode, I'll be touching upon the highs and the lows that every professional has faced along the way. To never miss an episode, subscribe to our exclusive content now and follow us on our social media platforms. People Behind Brands. Life lessons from the world of business. I'm pleased to welcome our very first lady on the podcast. They don't come much stronger and independent than my next guest. From organising lavish events for the rich and famous, to empowering positive mindsets as a social media influencer. Please be upstanding for Deepa Parekh of the award-winning 7-star business concierge and her latest venture, Thinking Deeper. Deepa, you're the first lady to enter the People Behind Brands podcast arena. It's a pleasure to have you join us in flying the flag for women in business. How are you doing today?
Whoop, whoop. The fact that I'm flying the flag for women in business was the right thing for you to say.
Indeed. How are you? You all right?
Really well, thank you. Really well. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's good to have you on today and speaking to so many other different people from wide sort of backgrounds, really, and sharing their story. And you're just the latest one. So I've had the pleasure of working with Deepa on marketing projects in the last few months. So when I thought about strong, independent businesswomen for our show, I thought, do you know what? Top of my list is Deepa. Deepa is a humble and honest, passionate person who is the managing director of 7-Star Concierge, a leading consultancy providing specialist support to organisations within business, media, entertainment and sports industries. Deepa is also a health and wellness influencer, regularly interviewing famous faces on an Instagram platform at Thinking Deepa. So, Deepa, first question, let's get amongst it and give our listeners more understanding about your brand and your life as a whole. Let's start with 7-Star. So tell us a bit more about the business and the story behind it.
Thank you for that very kind introduction, Mark. That's lovely. Lovely to hear about yourself.
Not a problem.
Especially when you're in that arena where you are talking to other people, it's weird. I now understand why people say to me, oh gosh, that I've just heard all that about myself. That's like really strange. So I understand that now. 7-Star basically was born 2008. It was a concierge company for anybody within sports and entertainment, really. The idea was to provide a service, a personal assistant service, that would alleviate the day-to-day pressures. So specifically for footballers, rugby players, athletes in general, the idea was that if we took away all the mundane tasks that they didn't need to focus on, then it would give them a better chance to focus on the game, on the pitch, on the court, whatever field of sport they played in. So that was the kind of the thinking behind 7-Star. That developed as we kind of got into it. We went into events, because we were then organizing things for players all the time. So if you were asking me what was the kind of day-to-day, we would be looking for houses for players right the way through to organizing a birthday party for their wives, to finding the most exquisite birthday present. The list was endless and very personal to the individual client, really. And that just developed. So we went on to run bigger events with players. We went into some management, so we actually negotiated deals. We worked specifically with agencies, providing the concierge arm, so we went in-house. And we started to negotiate commercial deals for them because we had the relationship with the players. So it was an interesting time.
Yeah, so as a leading consultancy providing specialist support to organisations within business, media, entertainment and sports industries, you must have worked with some well-known organisations and individuals. What are some of the achievements you've experienced and are obviously proud to mention?
Well, the business was constantly evolving, right? So, you have to change as times change. And that's what was really interesting about 7-Star, because we went from just being a concierge company to an events management company to also a business consultancy. A lot of the players started to have their own businesses post football once they'd retired. So I was working with them on developing strategies for marketing, events, sales, business development. And the achievements, probably it's mad, because as the business consultancy evolved, I started to work with unknown brands like Manchester Hall, which was a brand new venue that was in the city centre of Manchester that needed to be placed on the market. And you know, we had partnerships with Manchester City. It was award winning, basically. So although it was a brand not known to people, just by the very nature of the strategy we put in place, you know, it became the go-to venue that had 13 function rooms. It had a rooftop terrace. It had 7 bedrooms in the basement. It had a restaurant on the ground floor. You know, so as far as achievements go, I don't think it matters where they come from. It's just that it was, for me, that was one of my biggest achievements. I won 2 awards for best launch event and best new business. And then also being really fortunate to work with some really established brands like Audemars Piguet that I've ran Money Can't Buy experiences for on a global level with some really unbelievable major title winning golfers. So there's been a whole mix, really. And I would say my achievements generally are on anything that I've just been 100% with. That's an achievement. The accolades are great, but I think just the fact that you are still in business and able to diversify and evolve, that's your biggest achievement.
Yeah, completely agree. So your passion for the industry has led you to set up on your own and do things your way for some time now. Talk to us a little bit more about what led you to start up on your own and benefit from being a business owner yourself.
I've always been a rebel. I don't really think I'm employable because not because I don't like to be told what to do, but I just find that I have quite my vision's quite peripheral. So I'm a bit of a live wire. I like to do lots of different things at the same time, and working for someone full time, I know I'd get bored eventually. And I know this because it's happened to me. So being a person that's running their own business and it's something new and it's something slightly more innovative and outside of the box kind of thinking has always been my passion. And I think you can't really work for someone when you have those kind of things going on as a mindset. I'm generally adaptable. I like to do things my way, but then differently. So I think there's a lot of, when you look at the advantages of owning your own business, obviously you work when you want. And that's the thing. When you work for someone, if you are working a lot, there will be a time where you will feel, I need that pat on the back, Yeah. When you work for yourself, there's no pat on the back. You've just got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to be consistent, and you only have yourself to blame. And I kind of like that accountability for myself. And like I said, it allows me the freedom of working on different projects. And that's what I love about Seven Star. It's so diverse. I have restaurant clients, I have athletes as clients, I have health and wellness people as clients. And just the fact that I have all that diversity it just feeds my soul. And I think that's what it is. It's whatever you do, it has to feed your soul. Otherwise you're not 110% in it, really.
Yeah. So as you know, the aim of this podcast is also to focus on some of the more testing times that we all go through at some point along the way, which can sometimes give the people drive to obviously succeed. Along with the recent pandemic, what would you say are some of the difficult challenges you've experienced that may have impacted your life and business?
I mean, it's been challenging for everybody, right? Because it was so unexpected. We didn't think within the space of 4 weeks everything was going to get shut down. Me personally, I just really enjoyed the fact that we went through lockdown, because it really gave me a chance to just kind of reset and just reflect on stuff and recognize where I wanted to make the changes and actually have that time to implement the changes. Because a lot of the times in business, we're just so busy being reactive to things that although we've got our minds set on doing other things or starting other things, we never really get around to doing them. So lockdown for me was a time to be able to do that. There were also things within my business that I wanted to change, that I didn't get a chance to do because you're just like I said, in the flow of just running your own business. So I've really had a chance to do that, and find time to kind of keep learning, because that's the big thing, is that we stop learning because again we're so busy just running the rat race. So I've just spent a lot of time trying to just start new programs, I've started Mind Valley recently, and just kind of go back to university of life, which has been really interesting for me, and obviously that's helped develop the whole Thinking Deeper brand. But I think it's a test for everyone to consider how much self-belief they have. It's a test in terms of our adaptability. How quickly can we switch to that change? And luckily for me, it might just be there's an Aquarian Piscean mix in my kind of makeup, but adaptability seems to be quite a strong kind of a strong thing for me. I'm able to do that, and it's to keep trusting the process, right? So you don't necessarily look at the outcome all the time. I am one of those people that struggled when people said, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I genuinely like to be in the present and be working on what I'm working on. 5 years is a very long time and it's very uncertain, and I don't know whether we even make the 5 years. So I think for a lot of people it will be difficult, because we've not known anything different, and what I've learned is to go into the unknown is where our growth is, and that lockdown period was definitely the unknown, and so I just grasped it for my growth.
Yeah, so I mean, it sort of sounds as if that, while lockdown has obviously been a bit of a struggle, not being able to see loved ones and stuff like that, it sounds like it's been a blessing in disguise for you personally, and it's enabled you to sort of go from strength to strength, I suppose, especially with your influencer brand as well. But before we get on to that, I was working with you recently when you told me about the sadness of losing your auntie during lockdown. You mentioned to me that it has left obviously quite a big hole in your family as a result. Is family a massive part of your drive to succeed, not only in your career but obviously your life as well?
Huge. I come from a really big family. My mum's side of the family is 5 brothers and their kids and their kids' kids. And we're all very close. We live in close proximity. We spend a lot of time together. We celebrate everything together. So yeah, of course, my auntie on my dad's side, she was a huge character. She was the glue to the whole family. So, they're role models for you. And I lived with her for some time. So she 100% played a massive part in, being a hero for me in terms of just her selflessness and, her love of life. So when you lose someone like that unexpectedly and quite early, it's difficult to handle, really. It also makes you realize a lot of things, and I know it's a bit cliche, people say it all the time that when you hit trauma, that's when you realize life is short, but I think it's important to just keep that at the back of your mind all the time, that life is short and you need to be living it the way you should be living it, at least in a way that you're happy, so that you can, if ever you need to look back on it, you don't have those regrets.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, we just mentioned there about Thinking Deeper, but it's also obviously a recent sideline for you, and it's been the emergence of your influencer career on Instagram. So tell us a bit more about the story behind Thinking Deeper.
Thinking Deeper really came about because a lot of my friends will say I am that deep thinker. Like, I think about everything, whether it's life, why somebody's behaved in a certain type of way, or I'm always kind of analyzing things. So Thinking Deeper was really born because I just wanted to share that journey with people. I wanted to share my thought process. Whether people are interested or not is a little bit secondary. But generally, I just thought, I think there will be people like me that are on a very similar path, that want to kind of deep dive into certain aspects of life. And really the kind of thought process behind Thinking Deeper is for us to learn lessons through people. Again, a lot of my friends will say, "Oh God, you're so deep sometimes. Like you've really thought about that." Or when they ask for my opinion, I'll have examples, but it's what I've learned through other people's experiences, and I feel like those are the best ways in which we can learn. So yeah, it literally is a kind of deep dive into the world of high achievers within business, within sports, within health and well-being, and it's to try and learn the life lessons through their experiences. It's to do some myth busting. So there's so much contradictory information out there. Some of it's so conflicting. Sometimes it's very confusing. So just to try and give you a different angle with some backing, with some substance, because somebody's telling you about it rather than just what you are one-dimensionally reading online or, in a book. So, and also to look at life hacks. Like we all love a life hack. We want a quicker way of doing things. So why aren't those experiences of other people a hack almost? And then to look at specifically knowledge bombs, there's a lot of people, and I've been very fortunate because I've met some incredible people in my life who are very happy to share those knowledge bombs and happy to share what's making their life the way it is, and what did they do. And a lot of it is just boiled down to hard work and determination and real self-belief, and love, literally. So it's just that's the kind of thought behind Thinking Deeper, and hopefully that will help educate people. It will provide a platform for those high achievers who want to share their stories with people so that they are helping. And ultimately, it's a journey that I hope people want to go on to become a better version of themselves. And that's kind of what Thinking Deeper is all about, really.
Yeah, it's from what I've seen, it's obviously I know you as a person as well, and it's all about the positive mindset and stuff like that. But you also interviewing these types of people. One that sticks out for me was Sean Wright-Phillips, obviously the former Chelsea and City footballer. So just talk to us about some of the people that you've interviewed and what you've kind of learnt from their stories.
I mean, it's a diverse mix because it's more lifestyle that I'm going for with Thinking Deeper. So, people like Sean are really interesting because, again, us as the public, we only really see what we see or what's shown to us. You don't get the opportunity to get to know the person behind what's being shown. So that's another angle for Thinking Deeper, really, is to be able to give that insight for people to know the real Sean Wright-Phillips, to know the real Ray Allen that played for Miami Heat, that was by far the best shooter ever, bar none. So it's getting to know them, and it was interesting because with some of the lives, the fans obviously just want to talk about the sport. And I remember reading some of the comments, and some of the guys were saying, "Oh, just talk to us about his speed and talk to us." And then at the end, those same people were coming on going, "Wow, I didn't really know this about Ray. Didn't know he had a restaurant. Didn't know, his kind of passion is to help people grow. To give them that positivity, to understand his own mindset of how he became so successul." So it was interesting to see some of that stuff change, and the biggest lesson, I think, with anybody, I interviewed a guy called Vikas Shah recently, and he's met some unbelievable people through his time, from fantastic astronauts right the way through to actors in Hollywood. And I think the crux of it always is love. If you do something that you ultimately unconditionally love to do, you'll always succeed. You've just got to believe that you can do it. And I think that's the big thing. So that almost tells you it's quite deep, because a lot of people won't associate the two, but that's what it boils down to for me.
So whether it be 7-Star or Thinking Deeper, what would you say are the most enjoyable things of the brand USPs at the forefront of your successful movements?
I think the USPs always have been, from the very start, I've always believed that your network is your net worth, and you've got to be a likable person so that you respect people, people respect you. And building relationships is huge. And I think anything that I've done has always been based on building those networks of people, so that they can kind of cross-fertilize at any point. And that's actually what's happened. People that I've had in my phone from the early 2000s, I can still reach out to now, and they be relevant for what I'm doing. So I think, going back to your question, you've just got to find those things that you are very good at. And then anything you put your mind to will, it will fall into place for you, because you found where your strengths are, and you can keep growing those. So for me, it's always been about thinking outside of the box. But because I've had such a vast network of people and that relationship, it's about being able to reach out to them and say, I'm just working on this, and what do you think? And can you help me with, or can I get you feedback on? And they're willing to do it, because you've had that relationship with them for a long time, and you've always tried to help them, when they've needed stuff.
Yeah. So Deepa, thanks so much for coming on the podcast and giving us an insight into your world. Is there anything you would like to add, or where people might be able to find 7-Star Concierge and Thinking Deeper before we wrap up?
I mean, I would love for people to follow Thinking Deeper if they found this podcast interesting, because there's more of it on Thinking Deeper, really. But no, last words would just be, just love what you do and just keep doing it. And, that's all that counts.
Yeah, thanks very much, Deepa, for another fantastic episode on People Behind Brands. Join us next time for a brand new guest who will be providing their life lessons from the world of business. Thanks very much.
So that's it for this episode of People Behind Brands. I'd love to hear from you all, so if you want to get in touch, follow us on our social media platforms. If you like what you heard, please rate and subscribe to our exclusive content now. Join us next time for a brand new guest on the podcast as we explore yet more life lessons from the world of business. We'll see you soon.